All right, we're live. How's it going, guys? My name's Tommy and Ray.
What's
This
up,
is
guys?
Totally Recalled MMA, episode 5. Cal is not with us. I was not here last week, so guess we're switching. So it's just us two, me and Ray. Ray, how's it going?
It's going great, guys. Also, just want to say one thing. We really do appreciate everyone tuning in. I know, some people are sticking with us and watching our podcast, so we really do appreciate it.
Yeah, we're just trying to keep it consistent, going week by week, trying to get more viewers, and we'll just see what happens with the show. It's a good time. Good time. So we're here to talk about some events that happened this past weekend. The UFC 222. We're going to talk about some future matchups and stuff like that, and the latest by the UFC and stuff like that. So let's get started with the past pay-per-view. Let's talk about it a little bit. So on Saturday, we had Cyborg defeating Yana Kunitskaya by first round TKO, TKO. Ray, thoughts?
Man, like we said last week, another sacrificial lamb. I had hopes for Yana because the way she was talking, she was saying, "Oh, Cyborg doesn't have knockout power, and they could take her hits." And I was kind of like, "Wow, she's speaking really highly of herself, so maybe it'll be a bigger fight." Once she felt that first overhand right, it was pretty much over from there. She was just covered up. She didn't want any more to do with it, and it was just another sacrificial lamb for Cyborg.
Yeah, she did absolutely nothing for her standing up, on the ground. She did what she had to do, like try to get it to the ground as fast as possible. But just Cyborg's just a different human.
Yeah, man. She's so different, and I mean, the only scare we had is when she had got her back, but once she stood up, we were like, okay, Cyborg's okay, So
Joe Rogan was freaking out too.
yeah, it was pretty scary to see that. I was like, oh, she does get her back, anything can happen. But once she got her off, just bombs after bombs she had to absorb. So I mean, I respect Deanna for taking the fight. No one wants to take that fight against Cyborg, so hats off to her.
Yeah, Cyborg looked like Cyborg. Usually, in the Tiny Avenger fight, she seemed definitely more advanced. And I feel like she was like taking her time that fight, but with Giannis, she just went in and just finished her as quickly as possible, trying to get that paycheck.
Yeah, man, I agree, man. It was crazy. It was an awesome fight, though.
Yeah, it was a fun one. Not really much to talk about there. Just Cyborg getting a win against a fighter that a lot of us didn't think were going to win. And she put up a good performance fighting Cyborg. So, in more interesting news, in my opinion, Brian Ortega finishing Frankie Edgar by first round knockout.
Yeah. T-City, man. Yeah, that fight was awesome. And it's crazy because, like I said, I picked Ortega to win the fight. I picked it via submission, but an uppercut? First man to ever finish Frankie Edgar in the octagon with an uppercut. And I thought I had to wipe my eyes because I was like, was that Francis Ngannou in there? Because that uppercut was vicious, man. How'd you feel about that?
Man, I thought Brian Ortega was going to win, but I never imagined it in like a million fights that Brian Ortega would knock out Frankie Edgar in the first round. It's just like, that's why I love this sport. It's just you never know what the hell is going to happen. And the thing is, Frankie Edgar was winning on the stand-up. And I just read some statistic that every single fight Brian Ortega has won, he's lost every round. And the round he won in, he was losing that round.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a crazy stat.
Yeah.
I think it was more of him trying to figure out, because, Frankie does have that. He does have really good boxing, and, he's in your face. I think Brian's had to get comfortable. And once he got comfortable with weaving and he was figuring out his slips, after that, he just seemed so comfortable in there. He started throwing elbows and eventually landed one, and that hurt Frankie pretty bad. And after that, he just started going for the kill. And, I'm like, wow, he really showed that killer instinct. Like, he will go for it when he has to. So it was awesome to see that side of Brian because, everyone's like, oh, he's going to submit him. All he does is submit. He's a jiu-jitsu guy, but he showed, like, I remember how last time we were talking about it? Oh, like, he has hands. He has hands, and he displayed his hands like I said he would. So I'm pretty excited because that's my first into-depth prediction I got correct. So I'm happy.
That was the first underdog prediction you got right so far. Yeah. So yeah, Frankie Edgar, tough loss, very tough loss. He had the title shot in his fingers, his headlining card, and he lost it. So, where do you think he goes from here?
Man, it's tough to call because this is a fight he didn't have to go forward with. He should have just kicked back. I have a title shot. The fight's been canceled twice. I would have just sat back and cool it. But a fighter is a fighter, and they're going to want to fight eventually. I understand that. Kind of like the Jacare situation, how he took the fight and he lost. It's the same situation. I still think he can get a top contender. It just sucks that to have your name on the same card as as a champion, knowing you're fighting for the title, and to take this fight at such a high risk and such a dangerous guy too.
Yeah.
It's just like shows what type of fighter he is. So I respect him, and I'll always respect him. But we'll see where he goes from here, man. It's sad.
Maybe he just wanted to be paid, and I'm not even saying that in he doesn't care about the sport anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying because they were supposed to fight in December, and then Max gets pulled out again. So no, Frankie pulled out the first time, but then Max pulls out the second fight, and it would just be a long wait, like just months and months of waiting for that fight. Frankie just wanted to get in there and get a fight in, but yeah, I think Frankie, he's still in that top 5. He could fight someone like Josh Emmett or maybe like a crazy Korean zombie fight or something. I feel like just fun matchups for him for the rest of his career. I don't think he should be fighting like up and coming prospects just to take a name off of him.
Definitely.
Like Yair Rodriguez, a fight like that. I don't like seeing fights like that for Frankie. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, man. He still has a big career ahead of him. He's been in it for a long time, but he's not slowing down. It's a tough guy. He fought a tough young guy. I think he gets back in there and he's gonna be himself. So I'm confident he'll be back.
Yeah, we'll talk about Ortega a little bit. We'll get to him later. Situation, and then we had Shikashan OMalley beating Andre Sukumtom, or how OMalley calls him, Andre Socklemom. An insult. I guess I'll go first here. It was a fun back and forth fight. I think it was back and forth. OMalley was mostly dominating on the stand up, and it seemed he hurt his leg in the third round. I thought it was broken, but supposedly it isn't. And that was one of the best post fight interviews I've ever seen. OMalley laying on the floor. And, yeah, that was just a little simple debrief of it. Ray, you want to go into more?
Yeah, you guys know I'm high off of OMalley. So for me, I was on the edge of my seat the whole entire time. I was yelling like a little girl. But yeah, man, he looked phenomenal in there, and he's going to be a pay-per-view king. I know he will. He has the talk. He has the style. Like, he's so marketable. Like, I think he's the future, honestly. But yeah, he had a great performance against Sukumtov. I can't believe he stuck in there with that foot of his. He was hopping on it, but with the timeout. Why would Sukumtov take him down, knowing how bad like his leg was? It was just such a bad move. And he's been in the game for a while. So for him to see someone like hurt, because it was so noticeably like he was hurt, and he went for the takedown, and that bothers me so much. It's kind of like you got to have a fighter IQ in there, and he could have finished OMalley, honestly. He's hopping around in there. He could have just ended him, but he took him down, and OMalley pulled it off. And a lot of people didn't agree with the decision, but OMalley was picking Sukumtov apart the whole entire fight. He hurt him badly in the first round. He dropped him, and it's kind of like, what more do you guys need to see? And everyone's like, oh, his foot was messed up, so I don't think he deserved to win the fight. That even gives him even more of a reason to win the fight, that he's stuck in there with a messed up foot, hopping around, and pulled off the victory. Welcome to the Sugar Show, baby!
Absolutely. A good-ass time. I don't know why people thought OMalley lost that fight. He definitely won it. I definitely think he's the better fighter.
Definitely.
So, yeah, he'll probably be out for a while, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think from previous posts I've been seeing, it's healing, but he'll be out. He'll take a little time. It's nothing too serious, but he'll be out for a little bit. So we'll see him eventually. Yeah,
I think he's just getting better and better in his career. I think he looked a lot better from now than his last fight with Terrion Ware. But yeah, I definitely think he's making leaps and bounds in his improvements. So yeah, the rest of the card, there were some fun fights here and there. Andrei Arlovsky beating Stefan Struve. It was a pretty slow fight. We don't really need to talk about that one. Yeah. And then Ketlin Vieira defeating Kat Zingano by split decision. Ray, your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good fight. It was pretty even, you know. Kat coming back. It's been a while. She looked great. I think she should hold her head up high. You know, she was really disappointed she didn't get the win, but she looked honestly amazing in her fight. So I'm happy for her, and it was a great fight.
Yeah, and it sucked to see Kat Zingano losing 3 in a row. But it is what it is. That's the sport. Sometimes you're going on a 5-5 win streak, and then you go on a 4-5 losing streak. Like Chris Weidman was the middleweight champion, then he was on a 3-5 losing streak. It's just that's how rough the sport is, man. And then some interesting notes here. We had newcomer Alexander Hernandez. That is his name. Alexander Hernandez beating Benio Dariush. One of the most shocking upset victories I've seen in a while.
Yeah, man. I mean, he straight KO'd him. Just one punch, boom, dropped him, ground and pound. It was over from there, and it was a beautiful right hand too. It was so smooth, and that definitely put his name on the map for sure.
Yeah, that's such a bad loss for Benio Dariush. That's just the worst loss you could possibly have as a top 10 fighter losing to a unranked debut fighter. Almost reminds me of like when Joe Lozon came into the UFC and he knocked out Jens Pulver. That was a way, way long time ago. But like Jens Pulver was his former champion, and Joe Lozon was like a last-minute replacement, and he knocked out Jens Pulver in like 40 seconds. It reminded me of that knockout. But yeah, tough loss for Benio Dariush. Hernandez, I actually saw his interview after the fight, and he talked very well. So he seems like a very, very fun fighter to watch in the future. John Dodson got a split decision over Munoz. I didn't really get to catch that fight, Ray. Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it. I saw a little bit of it. I got the last 2 rounds, but yeah, I mean, Dodson looked like Dodson. He looked like scrappy, quick. He was way faster, like he always is, than his opponents. You know, I've heard some people saying that it was a controversial decision, but from what I saw, Dodson looked like he was winning the fight. You know, he just was sticking and moving. He was in and out. He just looked too quick for the guy.
And then one of the most controversial parts of the night, we had CB Holloway getting the disqualification win over Hector Lombard. And, I mean, what are you going to
do? Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those freak things, man. It's like, you know, you're fighting there. Your main thing is to, I'm not saying hurt your opponent, but to, you know, finish your opponent. That's what you're in there to do. But what I would say is, that bell was loud and clear, and the ref did say stop at least 2 to 3 times. So I think I'm not saying Hector's a dirty fighter. I would never say that about a fighter. But when you have the bell go off and you're that late to react with a 2-hit combination, it's kind of like it's sus from there. You're just kind of thinking, like, did he do that on purpose? But it's like, I don't think someone would intentionally do that after the bell, you know? Yeah. But, I mean, it sucks because, like I said, they're in there fighting. They're just – it was a counterattack. He did do it off the kick, and he threw a 1-2 off the kick. So it was kind of like a counter, but it was a late counter. And, you know, it sucks that had to happen. I don't think it was an intentional thing, but you never know the mindset of anybody.
Yeah, I don't think it was an intentional thing. It was kind of like when Jose Aldo hit Chad Menez after the bell. But what's different is that crowd was so loud in Brazil. And then you could barely hear the bell during the pay-per-view. And Jose Aldo hit Chad Mendes. Thing is, you could clearly hear the bell here. But here's the thing. In my past experience, like sparring before, sometimes when you're like in an exchange, when the bell rings, you have that urge to just like do those 1-2 more strikes like after the bell rings. So I kind of can understand at Hector Lombard's point of view there. But it's just one of those situations that just sucks. Honestly.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's been a lot of situations like that in the UFC too. You know, Jermaine Randamay, when she fought Holly Holm, I think it was like 2 or 3 late hits in the fight, and there were just vicious elbows, and they wobbled Holly, and it was just, and I can't believe she won the decision. That is just outrageous, because there's no way in hell that she beat Holly Holm in that fight. I think Holly Holm dropped her too in that fight. It's just, you know, one of those crazy decisions where it's kind of like, what the hell? That was an obvious win for Holly, but yeah, just those crazy late shots, man.
Yeah, it just sucks. I mean, Jermaine Durandamy, I don't know what she's doing now. She was supposed to fight Cyborg, and didn't want to fight her because Cyborg was a supposed cheater. And back to Cyborg. Seems like nice segue, right? Cyborg, we wanted to see her fight Amanda Nunez, but Amanda Nunez is now fighting Raquel Pennington, so they can get into some new matchups. Yeah, 222. It was a fun card to watch. Nice pay-per-view. You shelled out $65. I feel like you'd have a good time watching it. What do you think the buys will be for this one?
Ooh, I'm not sure. I'm not good at estimating the pay-per-view buys on this one, but I mean, it was a solid card for us MMA geeks, I guess I would say. Yeah. But for your average, casual fan, I don't know if it's the biggest attention to them, but for us, it's way different. So I don't know how I would call it.
What's surprising is that the prelims did almost 1 million views.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It peaked at like 1 million views when Mackenzie Dern fight, which I think is crazy because like the past pay-per-views got 600,000, 700,000, and that was for Rockhold, and Stipe got 800,000. And that was in my opinion, a bigger card than this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's wild.
It's kind of surprising. So yeah, I think it might range around 200,000. My prediction.
Yeah, I mean that goes to show you that the sport of MMA is growing and it's getting bigger. So that's awesome.
So Cyborg, not fighting Amanda Nunez. Amanda Nunez now fighting Raquel Pennington. I feel like as a UFC fan that doesn't really know much about the sport, well, a little bit, they're not really going to know who Raquel Pennington is. That's just my opinion. I mean, I'm a big Raquel Pennington fan. Her last fight against Miesha Tate, she looked great.
She's like a beast. She's like a beast.
Oh yeah,
definitely. When she had grabbed that guillotine on her, it literally lifted her all the way up in the air. That was insane.
Yeah, I've never seen that before.
Ever. That's the first time I've ever seen something like that. So yeah, she's scary, and I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a great fight. Actually, she's a scrapper. I mean, her record might not be the greatest, but she's always game. So. It's a very interesting fight.
Yeah, she's just fought tough competition her whole career, and that fight against Miesha Tate and Raquel Pennington. Miesha Tate was her tough coach in The Ultimate Fighter, which that's a pretty important win, even with that added. And Amanda Nunez, she's the champ for a reason. You think that she shouldn't be the champ because of Valentina?
Oh, you're calling me out. But okay, I'll explain that. Yeah. So when Valentina Shevchenko fought Amanda Nunez for the second time, I honestly thought Valentina won the fight. She was tagging her left and right, and it was a back and forth fight. Don't get me wrong. It was definitely a chess match. But I think from what I was seeing is Valentina was kind of controlling those rounds. She was throwing more combinations out, and Amanda was kind of pop shot. I love Amanda to death. I love her. But she was more like pop shot, move, pop, move, in, out. And Valentina was just straight, just throwing hands. And I don't know. I feel like that fight could have definitely went to Valentina. I don't see how it didn't. But, Amanda is a champ, and she's here to stay, obviously. So I think that she could get the job done against Raquel. And I think that they should do Cyborg versus Nunez. Cyborg wants to fight too, because I guess Amanda's been calling her out. But my one thing is, shouldn't we see Cyborg fight somebody in her weight class?
Absolutely.
But this is the only exception though. This is a scrap, so I'm okay with them trying to set up this fight.
Yeah, I really want to see Cyborg versus Megan Anderson. I don't know why. I just feel like Megan Anderson's like the 145er to challenge Cyborg. I don't know or don't think she'll beat her. I think she'll give her a good chance, a good shot. But I feel like Cyborg needs to fight a real 145er.
For sure.
Her whole UFC career, she's fought 135ers.
Yeah, man, I agree with that. And Megan's been calling her out after every fight. Yeah. Like, I'm here, I'm ready to go. So I mean, maybe, who knows? Maybe we will get that fight. So I mean, they've been bringing over everybody from Invicta, and they're trying to search the globe for someone to be Cyborg, but they're sending her people who are not on her level. You know, she is a whole. You know, it's the featherweight division, and then there's Cyborg. Cyborg is a complete different animal. She is scary and terrifying. No one wants to sign that contract, and when they do, it's a sacrificial lamb. They just send over to her for her to just beat up on. So I think, like you said, Megan Anderson will give her a great fight.
And they gave her Holly Holm. And Cyborg versus Holly Holm was her toughest challenge. And
Definitely.
Holly Holm proved herself. I think she was the toughest fight of Cyborg's career.
Yeah, man. I mean, she took her to 5 rounds. You know, it went to decision, and Holly looked great that fight. You know, and she just the power I thought was a little bit too much for Holly to handle. But as far as exchanging, I mean, she was in there. She was ready. She was game, and it was awesome to see that in Holly. And that just shows you the competitor she is. You know, Holly's one of the most she's probably one of my favorite fighters. You know, and she's definitely one of the highest level opponents, maybe the highest level opponent Cyborg has ever faced in her life. So I don't know. It was a great fight. It was fun. I would watch it again. You know, I think if Holly wasn't as hesitant to throw those head kicks, it could have been a different situation. You know, I mean, she was always in. She was never out of that fight. You know, it's just the power difference was just immaculate. The difference in power was insane. But I think that if Holly could have been a little bit more not as hesitant and throwing her combination kicks, you know, we could have had a crazy fight. So I mean, it was fun.
Yeah. Holly Holm have a fight? I think she's just chilling right now, right?
Yeah, I know she's training. I know she was training with Yana for this fight, but I don't know any news about Holly Holm at the moment. I wish we do. I mean, her last couple fights have all been title fights. I mean, she's always fighting for a title, so I mean, it's awesome that that's the girl you can call. You got to call Holly because she's always game. She's always ready.
Oh yeah, I love seeing Holly fight. She's just great in her technique and kickboxing. She's been in the game for a while. She's been fighting for a long time, especially her boxing and kickboxing career. Yeah. And here's an interesting question that I was thinking. Who do you think is the greatest women's MMA fighter of all time?
Well, not to be biased, but my favorite woman fighter of all time is obviously Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Ronda Rousey. I would say I want to say Ronda because of what she's done. Everyone's saying that, she wasn't complete. She didn't have striking, she had this and that. But bottom line is she did defend her title and she did win. I mean, MMA is not just standing up and striking, it's everything. And for people to try to take that away from Ronda, it kind of makes me upset because people are judging her so hard on her all she has is judo, blah, blah. Well, if that's all she has, then how are you still losing? You're going in there, she's probably the easiest person to prepare for. Avoid the armbar. Your whole training camp, avoid the armbar. But guess what? She still gets you in it. So it's kind of you can't take it away what Ronda has done. She's a pioneer of the sport. I think she's one of the greatest and will always be one of the greatest female athletes on the planet. But as of right now, the most dominant, most scary, most terrifying woman in the world is Cris Cyborg.
Absolutely. I feel like in terms of talent, I feel like the greatest fighter of all time is Cris Cyborg. And that's honestly, I mean, for the culture, I feel like just the greatness of Ronda Rousey has just brought the sport to a whole new level. And she's just one of the biggest stars that have ever done it. So I definitely agree with everything you said. I feel like Joanna was close to being the greatest before she lost to Rose. I feel like depending on how this next fight goes, then we'll see her true greatness. But what do you think?
And by fact, we will be there live. Me and Tommy will be witnessing this live, and we'll be screaming our lungs out, and we will tell you all about it when we're there. So we cannot wait.
We'll definitely be shooting videos and stuff while we're there.
Oh, yeah. We're going to get our vlog going, so it'll be awesome.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah. That was a good discussion right there. Back to Brian Ortega. Let's talk about him a little bit. He's going to fight Max Holloway. Dana White confirmed it. And Brian Ortega, it's just this fight is more interesting to me than Holloway versus Edgar, in my opinion.
Definitely.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot more competitive. Ortega, name someone who's better at featherweight on the ground.
No one.
No one.
He steamrolls anybody on ground. He's on a new level. Now the ground game is called Ortega. That's the new ground game in that division. So yeah, I mean, like you said, I honestly think Holloway would have flatlined Edgar. I think it would have been a very easy fight for Holloway. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But now we're talking about a guy in Ortega who just viciously KO'd Edgar and is so scary on the ground. And Max Holloway has a good takedown defense. You know, he's good on the ground. He's good everywhere. He's a pretty balanced guy. He's my favorite fighter in the world. And this is a scary fight. You know, this is going to be a great, and I think it's going to be a pretty even fight. To be honest, I mean, I think boxing wise, I give the edge to Holloway. But then again, you can't count Ortega out because, you know, they're kind of the same in size. They're kind of identical in size, you know, and Ortega just showed that he's not afraid to go in there and fight against anybody. And Edgar's boxing was way more superior than Ortega's boxing. So who knows? Like, we could be in for complete chaos. It could be a barn burner, no ground game. We can get some Ricardo Lamas and Holloway right here. Let's scrap. We can get one of those. So, I mean, I'm smiling just thinking about this fight.
Honestly, I want to see it just headlining a pay-per-view. I mean, being under Stipe versus DC would be great, but I just want to see this fight promoted as like one of the best featherweight title matches to happen ever.
Definitely, and it is. I mean, and it should. I mean, I hope UFC Hawaii happens. That'd be awesome. How awesome would that be? You know, there's a lot of these Hawaiians coming up here, and they're doing the damn thing. So it would be awesome to see him headline that card against Ortega. I think that's the fight to make. I think that's the place to make. So, I mean, they have all the things they need to line up that fight for it to be a massive fight, because this is arguably one of the biggest fights in the featherweight division. So, I mean.
Put him on Brooklyn.
hey, I will not complain about that.
Yeah. Let me check the upcoming cards we have. Because I'm not quite sure. We have UFC London. And you, thoughts on that card?
You know, for me, in my opinion, I don't care too much about the card. You know, I love Verdum. You know, Volkov. It's going to be a good fight, but for me, it's not really worth. I'm going to watch it. You know, I don't miss fights, but you know, it's not like oh my god, like it's not an amazing card. It's an okay card.
I mean, Verdum versus Volkov just doesn't have that like quality.
Yeah.
It's just like two names, two good fighters. It's kind of like Verdum versus Tybura in some essence. I feel
pretty much same thing.
I feel like this fight might be a little better than that. I don't know, but yeah. I mean, I'll definitely watch. I mean, Volkov, you could pull it off. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I think that's a good card. Jimmy Manawa is a good name. Oh, also another card that I don't think we've talked about yet. It's a Fox card, and it's got Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje. It's got Matt Brown and Carlos Condit.
Wow.
Headlining and co-headlining. Now, if you want some violence, that is the card to go.
For sure, man. That is definitely, that card should be named Violence. Forget Fight Night. It should just be called UFC Violence. But yeah, man. I mean, that's going to be, you know, I love Justin Gaethje and I love Dustin Poirier, and I hate when two of my favorite fighters have to go in there and settle it, because I'm just stuck between who I want to go with, and you know, I want both of them to win, and it sucks because that can't happen. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Watching your favorite fighters fight is like one of the worst feelings ever, because like I'm huge fans of Mark Hunt and Alistair Overeem, and when they had the fight at UFC 209, that was one of the worst fights I've ever had to watch. I mean, it wasn't a bad fight, but I just didn't want to see any of the guys losing, and just seeing Mark Hunt lose sucks, and just seeing Alistair Overeem lose suck. For me, I mean, watching Alistair Overeem get knocked out by Francis Ngannou was awesome to watch, but after the fact, it's kind of sad.
Yeah, man. Especially if you get knocked out in that fashion, man. He literally decapitated Overeem, so that was just scary to see. And you know, like, you never want to see your favorite fighters get knocked out or go down or submitted or anything. You don't want to see them lose ever. So and we met these two guys. We met Poirier and we met Gaethje, and they're both humble guys. They're both friendly. So like, I'm really stuck and really torn and saddened that I have to, I don't know who's gonna win this fight. I mean, it's sad. I don't even want to think about it.
Just let the best man win.
Yeah, definitely.
They do.
How do you feel about Matt Brown fight?
Matt Brown, one of my favorite fighters of all time. So I got to pull for him. But Carlos Condit, he's in a bit of a rut. So I feel like Carlos Condit's going to come out really aggressive in this one. I mean, but I hope my boy Matt Brown pulls it off. But we'll definitely see.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, you got he didn't look too great against Magny. I don't know what it was. He seemed so hesitant. Carlos Condit, normally he has a lot of velocity. He's throwing a lot of things. I think he's been off for a while, so that definitely could have been it. Now that he got those jitters out of the way, who knows? We could see a fully refreshed Carlos Condit in there against Matt Brown. So I mean, it could be a scary, violent, bloody fight, which it probably will be. Yeah. Same as the main event. So I'm excited.
I don't think Carlos Condit is what he used to be. I don't think his heart's in the sport anymore. Because his last interview that I heard before the Magny fight was very scary to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he was basically saying he was coming for the paycheck.
Oh, no. The paycheck junkie.
Yeah. Because when you say that, that means you have one foot out the door. And I hate fighters who have one foot out the door because that means your heart is not fully in it. Bad things can happen to you when one foot is out the door.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that.
You're looking up at lights. Speaking of Alistair Overeem, he just got scheduled to fight Curtis Blades.
Oh, yeah, I did see that. That's a fun fight. I mean, who up for this one? Curtis Blade looked great his last fight against Mark Hunt. I mean, I can't say he sat and laid on Mark Hunt because he didn't. He picked him up, he slammed him, and he ground and pounded. It wasn't like he just stayed there and controlled him. And, I mean, Overeem's a bigger guy. They're around the same height, I believe. And I just don't think – I think Overeem needs to figure out the type of game plan he wants before a fight. I think he should stick to what he does. Like, he likes to get dirty. He likes to clinch and throw those knees. I think he should stick to that type of Overeem, not the scrappy Overeem, because you can't go in there throwing haymakers at a guy like Francis Ngannou. Like, that was just a dumb game plan. I don't know what he was thinking. And a guy like Curtis Blades is going to try to take you down. But Overeem being big, I mean, that can kind of help him. He try to take you down, you stop it. He's in your clinch. You throw those nasty knees. That could be your fight.
Alistair Overeem, he definitely isn't Ubereem anymore. His style has changed. And like when he fought Brock Lesnar, it's a completely different fighter from when he fought Stipe Miocic.
For sure.
Yeah. So that'll be a good fight. Curtis Blades, I feel like he's one of like the most effective wrestlers in the UFC. Like compared to Khabib or like Damian Maia or something like that. They're just like really resilient and always want to do something on the ground, because there's a lot of fighters that I just watch and they just get this takedown and they do absolutely nothing with it. Like, I'm sorry to hate here, but Roy Nelson, when he gets takedowns, he does absolutely nothing on top. Like when he fought Derek Lewis, he did absolutely nothing on top. And that stuff gets me so annoyed because and then like who do you score the fight for? I mean, I'd score the fight for the person who did the most damage. Like sometimes judges just go for the person who had the top game for the most time. That just annoys me.
Yeah, man. Like same for me. I don't really like when fighters. I mean, I love ground game. I like high level ground game. I don't like a guy who's going to sit there and smother you and not get any positions. That's not what I like about fighters. That's not what draws my attention. I like the scrap. I like the guys who get in there and they're going for the kill, no matter if it's on the ground, no matter if it's on the feet. They don't care, So that's the type of fighters I like. Like Nate Diaz. I love Nate Diaz. He doesn't care. He literally does not care. He's willing to do anything in a fight. He's slapping you in the face, calling you names. He's not scared to get taken down. He'll pull off a submission like that. He's just a fun guy to watch.
So frustrating about Nate Diaz is that, like, I just saw this. He said he doesn't care about fighting Conor McGregor anymore. He said, F Conor, I don't want to fight him anymore. Dude, he just denied all the fights that you're supposed to take. You don't want to fight Eddie Alvarez. You don't want to fight Tony Ferguson. You don't want to fight Conor McGregor. Like, who are you going to fight? It's just so frustrating.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, and Nick's on standby. You know, these brothers, man, we want them back. So hopefully things get worked out. There's just so much going on in the world of MMA. I know we're probably talking about all these fights, but it's a lot of stuff going on right now. It's pretty popular in the world of MMA, and trying to let you guys know that there's some big fights that could be made that we want to see.
Yeah, I mean, compared to other weeks, this was kind of a slow week because there's not a UFC this Saturday, and the news it's just isn't like there's not like some crazy storyline, but we always got to provide a podcast every week for you guys, and we're here just to talk about everything going on. And I feel like we discussed a lot. I feel like this was an episode, right?
Yeah, for sure, man. Everything I talked about, everything we wanted to talk about. You know, we discussed some fights we were thinking about, and I think it went smooth.
Yeah. So I guess we'll say goodbye for this episode of Totally Recalled MMA. I'm Tommy.
And your boy Ray. Yeah. And I guess we are out.
Thanks for watching, guys. I think Kyle will be back next week, so it's going to be 3 of us again finally.
Shout out, Kyle.
So, yeah, Cal. Okay. So, yeah, I'll see you guys later. See you next week. Peace out.